you're riding Captain Marvel!
This is the official Captain Marvel greeting.
It's like your cats.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's a flirkin thing.
That
Yeah.
totally
It's
makes
like
sense.
yes,
Totally, you guys just
totally.
started a trend.
I'm gonna shoot myself and make you two watch.
Nerdrotic.com.
All right, so a couple of days after Disney decides to come out against parents' rights, they want to release a trailer for their very family-friendly Muslim superhero, Miss Marvel. Interesting timing, to say the least, and, well, we're going to learn two lessons here. One, you don't want your giant multinational corporation to choose sides in politics, especially when it comes to children when you are a family-friendly company. And, of course, you don't want to wade into identity politics even with one particular show that I won't be reviewing. Now, let's be real, Disney chose sides a long time ago, especially when they decided to thank that camp you concentrate in with Mulan, or while firing Gina Carano for making an accurate analogy about World War II and not firing Pedro Pascal for calling half of the country Yahtzees. This is also the same company, along with Bad Reboot, that shrunk Finn on the Force Awakens poster for China, as well as putting the mask on Black Panther for China. And to make things worse for this ill-fated show is the announcement that Marvel completely supports grooming children and is against parents' rights. Why am I talking about this when I really don't want to? Well, obviously it's because Disney has injected this in all the fandoms, and so have all the corporations in Hollywood, the few corporations that own so much. And the bad news for Disney in what Variety calls their worst week gets worse. There is a rumor out there based on sources, so of course take it with a grain of salt, that Kamala Khan's creator, Sana Amanat, who I talked about in my last Marvel video, might be on her way out for some indiscretions. And no, it's not for creating a crappy character that Marvel's been trying to force down our throat for a few years. And no, it's not for trying to turn Marvel into a lifestyle brand. And no, it's not for those cringe videos on YouTube. Although I wish it was for that. It was for something, well, very Andrew Cuomo.
For the record, her body was saying no, but her words were, please don't touch me.
We'll get to Miss Marvel in just a moment. And no, I'm not going to review the show because I'm not a 12-year-old girl. It's clearly not made for me. But first, Marvel Studios appears to come out in support of teaching gender identity and sexual orientation to elementary school students from the great John F. Trent at Bounding Into Comics, and we're going to get into 2 Bounding Into Comics articles. So this is the hill you have chosen to die on. Really, Marvel? You have been going full woke with the MCU for quite some time now, and a lot of us saw this coming because we actually read the comic books and know that most of the characters that you're pulling from right now from your IP farm, that is Marvel Comics, which really doesn't exist to sell comics anymore, with sales so bad we can no longer accurately track them, only exist to push ideology and get a higher ranking on that ESG score. Let's be real. We parents have allowed Disney to either, at the very least, babysit our children and, at the very worst, raise our children for generations. Marvel Studios posted to Twitter an image that reads, "We strongly denounce any and all legislation that infringes on the basic human rights of the LGBTQIA community." And I know it's not a very specific statement, and I know most basic humans are absolutely against anything that infringes on basic human rights for any member of the alphabet community or anyone. What about the basic human rights of the Uyghur Muslims in China? Oh, are things getting a bit too dark and uncomfortable? Yeah, they are. And it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not the fans' fault. It's Disney's fault. And Disney is hearing it from everyone. And I'm not going to say both sides because the majority of us just don't want this crap injected into our modern entertainment or our schools, particularly to kindergarten to 3rd grade. And then there's the very few who Disney catered to who you will never ever satisfy. The Modern Political Activists, or SJW, is a bottomless pit of misery. To Bob Chapek's credit, at first, he tried not to be involved. But this is what happens when you hire SJWs. You get extorted by a precious few and end up pissing off a lot of people. Best case scenario, it's a zero-sum game. Worst case scenario, it's a net loss. And yes, we're going to talk about Miss Marvel, the original character created in 2014 by Sana Amanat, who is actually a derivative of a derivative of a derivative of a derivative of a derivative and a couple of more derivatives character. How derivative is this character? We'll just stick with Marvel on this one. There's Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. There's Monica Rambeau.
It's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who save the world.
Who was a brown female from Louisiana who was saving people and leading the Avengers in the 80s. Then there was Marvel's son, Genisvel. Then there was Phyla-Vell. Then there was Novar. Then, of course, we had Carol Danvers, who was Miss Marvel and Marvel's love interest. Then there was Sharon Ventura, Miss Marvel. And then we finally get to the Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, who isn't the first Muslim female superhero. But she is a current year storytelling trope, a self-insert from a narcissistic political activist.
When Ms. Marvel first came out, we had such an incredible reaction.
It was so incredibly popular because everybody could see themselves in her.
See, now that's some bullshit.
Well, it turns out that the insanely popular derivative Miss Marvel has to be completely retconned to fit in the MCU. Released on March 15th, the first full trailer for Miss Marvel not only provides audiences with their first proper look at the fledgling superheroine, but also reveals that the Avengers fangirls on screen and beginning powers will bear little resemblance to their depiction in the comics, which might cause a little bit of controversy on Twitter. So does it really matter? No, but we're going to mention it. According to Kamala Khan's comic book origin story, the young Inhuman gains her powers after the species king, Black Bolt, sets off the Terrigen Mist Bomb in the wake of Thanos' invasion of their capital city, Attilan, in a last-ditch effort to stop the Mad Titan. Yes, this change of powers from being an Inhuman to being cosmic or magical might, and I mean might, go against some people's religious beliefs. Now, I am not an expert on religion. That's just what I hear. Apparently, Miss Marvel gets her cosmic powers from some bracelets, so now we have 4 omnipotent female characters in the Marvel Universe: Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Photon, or whatever they're going to call Monica Rambeau, and of course Scarlet Witch, who is now more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, who happens to be Wong.
Girls get it done.
Except, of course, if you're Gina Carano or Evangeline Lilly, who have bigger metaphorical balls than anybody in Hollywood. Now, Bounding Into Comics speculates that they made this change to make the character more palatable to general audiences, and I would agree. The person who made that decision was Kevin Feige, because Kevin Feige makes all of the decisions.
You're just going to have to deal with it.
Like I said in previous videos, directors, writers are not hired by Marvel, they are cast. So while Kevin Feige's breaking his arm patting himself on the back for being so damn diverse and inclusive, it's not like he actually wants to hear from anybody. After all, despite Marvel's continual push of the character to the forefront across various mediums, media featuring Miss Marvel continually struggles to find consistent or significant fan bases. Again, Sana Amanat, who may or may not be on her way out, and that rumor comes from my good friend Az from Heel vs. Babyface, linked in the description, has helped oversee Marvel's absolute worst era.
We are attempting to change these very precious characters. For people who have been living with them for decades and decades, we go in and we say, hey, by the way, we're going to make, we're going to give the Captain America mantle to a black guy. Is that, that's just what we've decided is important to us right now.
What's the most exciting aspect of being a part of Marvel? Oh.
Where comic sales have fallen, comic shops have closed, and they've had to conflate numbers just to make the industry look profitable. Stop laughing, manga. That's right, conflating sales with manga, children's books, padding sales with variants, which they have done for years, have resulted in stagnation. And I know this because I used to sell these comic books, and now we can't even track the numbers accurately. Numbers that weren't really that accurate before. Series featuring Khan in the leading role have faced regular cycles of cancellations and reboots. Yet here in Wikipedia, it says Miss Marvel sells much more digitally than in stores and has at times been Marvel's top digital seller overall. It also says, needs update, unreliable source.
Well.
Incidentally, Miss Marvel will be running concurrently with Obi-Wan Kenobi, the first time they have two series running against each other. I know a lot of people are saying this is a bold move by Disney. No, it's a move to bury it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is Disney is full of crap. They're filled with hypocrites. They try to silence voices. They do fire and cancel people who do not agree with their very one-sided political opinion, while they do work with regimes that commit human atrocities, all while bending the knee to the political activist division, to the alphabet squad, and coming out against their base, parents. And no, they're not exactly a fan of your cause either. They are a fan of profits, good credit scores, and good ESG scores. Think that's some sort of conspiracy? Well, here it is on the Disney website. And in the wake of massive protests... Oh, wait. Okay. In the wake of massive protests...
Just moments ago, our first protester has showed up here outside of the Walt Disney World Resort, so perhaps this walkout is beginning to get some legs here.
Okay, there is emergency town hall meetings over about 60 people being upset, and we're not really sure how many of those were actual Disney employees. To echo the sentiments of the great Eric July, we fund them, but they do not fund us. In other words, you might be a fan of Disney or Disney Marvel or Disney Star Wars, but they most definitely are not a fan of you. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.